Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 45th episode of the Blacks in Technology audio podcast. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee, along with my co-host, Ayori Selassie. Today we got another great podcast. We have guest Joshua Hoskins on the podcast here with us today. But before we get into him and his background, we're going to go over a little housekeeping, some of the stats from the previous couple of weeks since our last podcast. Actually, we had a podcast. We've been doing podcasts pretty frequently here. We've done like 2 or 3 of them just in the past couple of weeks. So, member count, we're up to 1,057 members on the Blacks in Technology site. Check us out at www.blacksintechnology.net. On the Twitters, we're up to almost 3,000 followers, so continue to support Blacks in Technology. If you want to follow us there, it's at Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. LinkedIn member count, we do have a LinkedIn group. We're almost up to 1,300 members there. So if you want to check us out on LinkedIn, we also have groups there, discussions going on, and also a Facebook community as well. So facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. And also, if you are listening to the podcast and you want to, tweet us some show ideas or some topics that you'd like to hear, use the hashtag on Twitter, BitTechTalk. That's BITTECHTALK. That's BitTechTalk. So I'm going to hand this over to Ayori. Ayori is going to introduce our guest, and we're going to get underway here. Hey, Ayori.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Greg. Good to be here again. We have in the room with us Joshua Hoskins. And Joshua is a consultant in the cloud space, so we're really excited to have him here today. He's with Aperio, and he's got some pretty awesome stats and badges associated with his name. And so I'm going to pass it on over to Joshua and let him talk about himself.
Hey, Ayori, real quick. Sorry, Joshua. I just want to say, tell us what's leading up to this, because there's something going on at Salesforce. Give us a little bit of background, real quick, Ayori, behind what's going on at Salesforce and the reason why, one of the reasons why we brought Joshua on today's show.
Yeah. So we've got this huge conference that's happening this week with some really amazing heavy hitters in the cloud computing space, in the enterprise cloud computing space, and it's called Dreamforce. So folks in the Bay Area, go out, dreamforce.com, register for one of the free passes and check out our keynotes. There's going to be Sheryl Sandberg's doing a keynote, Marissa Mayer, Deepak Chopra, and all these other really incredible folks in tech and in inspiration and in motivation. And since Joshua works in that space, it really just made sense to absolutely have him on during this time. So, yeah.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Thanks for the introduction. Like I already said, my name is Joshua Hoskins. I am a solution architect for Aperio. I've been with that organization for about 3 years. My cloud experience and sort of my career has taken me down the path from, starting from a help desk representative to being an IT director and now being, a solution architect. And so happy to share that path with you guys today and the audience that's listening. It's been a cool ride, and I like to share that with other people whenever I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You mentioned you were an IT director at the age of 22, which is pretty incredible in itself. So tell us a little bit about that experience. How'd you even get the job and becoming an IT director at 22 years old? Some people are just starting off in IT, period. And here you are, you're an IT director at 22 years old. So tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. So when I graduated high school, I had the opportunity to basically work for a timeshare company in the IT department. And I had this great boss, Tramel Ali, who I'll thank, forever for giving me the opportunity. But before that, I was a developer. I sort of started my developing career kind of early. And at that point in time, I was doing a small website, a small database, and it was a lot of hours, and really wasn't driving with my school schedule. So, I focused on school, and then after I graduated, I jumped to this help desk job. And the only thing I remember talking about Tramel is I just want to be able to go to a job and put in my 8 hours and then go home. And that's pretty much what the help desk job is. You go, you pick up the phone, you serve customers, and then you leave for the day. So it still allows you to, work hard and play hard, which is really the two things that I love to do in my life now. And so after that, after 3 years of working for the help desk, the interesting thing is you get to learn a little bit about all the technologies. WebSphere, servers, management, communication plans. When things go wrong, what do you do? And so, that after 3 years got a little repetitive because I wasn't being challenged. And after that, my good friend over at Orlando Jobs, Scott Katroba and Roger Lear, they were looking for an IT director in the technology that I had coded prior to working as a help desk person. So I wanted to get back into coding, and it was just a small company. They do job boards out of the Orlando area, and it was a perfect match. I needed to be challenged again, and so I went into that space, and I was, there for another 3 years as well.
That's great. I really like how, you sort of segued from this position in a help desk and just learning all the different technologies there, and then kind of just jumping like bam into a director level position, because I think sometimes folks don't always realize the power that they have in the positions that they're in. It just really depends on how you leverage that experience and how you perceive yourself. And going to a small company and being a director is something that I think sometimes people don't think about what that opportunity means and what doors it'll open up for you in the future.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is always looking for the next thing. Throughout my career, I've always had this sort of niche in the back of my mind where what do I want to do next, right? I am very much against where I don't subscribe to being complacent, going to work and not being happy. If I'm ever not happy, I want to understand why I'm not happy and what I can do to change that. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's controlled in your own destiny. And the only way that I was going to be happy and be challenged and move on is to be able to challenge myself and look for opportunities. So to the folks listening, always believe in yourself and always be looking for the next thing. It might not be what you want to do at that moment in time, but you can always create a plan and a pathway to that next thing.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. That actually kind of parallels something that I'm actually going through right now. And I always looked at it in that manner as well. I started out on the help desk, but I knew that it was a stepping stone for me. And I always had in mind what I wanted to do next, where I wanted to go, and the steps that I needed to take in order to get there. And I think that's very, very valuable advice.
Yeah, because you have so many learning opportunities as well. I mean, because I was always wanting to do more than just answer the phone call, I sort of ended up being assistant administrator too for all the guys who were at the bar and a server went down. They'd call me up, hey Josh, log in and restart this service and everything will be good and we'll talk about it in the morning.
You mean you didn't tell them that wasn't your job?
No, I wanted to do something cool. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do stuff that people didn't know how to do. And I think that's what really made me very, very easy to work with in that environment. So I was a trusted partner to a lot of the developers and a lot of the system administrators because they knew that they could rely on me to go above and beyond what my job was.
Yes, make yourself valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
now tell me.
Yep, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
I was just going to say, I'm this big fan of, you have to be able to innovate in your career. You got to be able to do something different and stand out. And the minute that you stop standing out, the minute that you don't innovate, it's very easy to go away. Case in point, Blockbuster. you don't innovate, you die, basically, right? And so always keep, true to yourself and always keep it fresh. And, everyone may not always agree with, with the new styles or nuances of how I do things. But ultimately, it gets stuff done in an innovative way, which is a lot different from, big old corporate America button-up style. So, I sort of really rely on my attitude and my persona to life and my career to, really drive, how people interact with me, and that's always fun.
That's awesome. I want to ask about how you got into the cloud space, because I've sort of been really involved in that space from very beginning, before the word cloud was even used. And I remember there was always a lot of pushback from folks who, a lot of veterans in the space of technology, like, oh, that cloud thing is new, it's going to go away, we don't like this. But, you really embraced it and thrived in it. So I wonder, how did you get into it, and tell us about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So when I was at OrlandoJobs.com, where I was coding in ASP, not even .NET those days, and, I was, poking around, and then in the tech community in Orlando, they sort of exposed me to Ruby on Rails. And I was that guy who was going to, recreate what we were doing today in ASP VB script on Rails. And it was going to be awesome because you can read the language when you code and things like that. And it was just awesome. So I was, heads down trying to make that happen. And it's interesting because, we had a small, Salesforce, license as well. So we used Salesforce for the sales cycle, but it wasn't tied into the back end. So these two systems didn't talk to each other. And so I love integration. So I wanted to basically integrate the two and, build more on Salesforce. And, I went to a user group meeting in Orlando for Salesforce because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it because, I thought it was just, Salesforce. We pay a lot of money for it, on a yearly basis, right? But why pay all that money when you can rewrite it in Ruby on Rails? So I, too, didn't understand the value in cloud and how you could extend, platforms like Salesforce to actually meet your business needs. So I was with the mindset that we were going to be building Rails and we're going to get rid of Salesforce, actually. And, I went to my first user group session. I started playing around with custom objects and workflows and business processes. And back then we were on Professional Edition. And, it was a really cool thing. So I got back and I got a phone call immediately. They're like, hey, do you want to play around with the development? And, from the developer forums, I started creating custom code, custom triggers. And so I sort of hopped into that cloud space just by nature of getting involved in the community, right? Going to user group meetings and things like that. And that's what really jump-started my career is being able to be a part of those conversations and have a conversation about business process. And ever since that, I've been a form, Salesforce.com believer in the cloud, user-centric processes and things like that. So definitely subscribe to the Kool-Aid. A little bit too much at times.
Champagne.
Yeah. It's been a great ride, and that's very much what Aperio is about. It's about cloud technologies, making sure that people can accelerate their business and reimagine their business in the cloud without the expensive overhead of administrators and servers and the total cost of ownership in the cloud is a lot less than having an on-premise system. So all that stuff I subscribe to, and I think it's great, and it's really where the world is going.
Excellent. Yeah, and I checked, and I work in the cloud space as well. I work for a company that provides public clouds as well as we build private clouds, and there's still a lot of people out there that don't believe in the cloud and don't take advantage of what the cloud can offer, and still some people are still skeptics. So I think what you just described is very good. I took a look at your website, and it has this cloud logo with the letters MVP on it. Tell us about that. Is that an award, or what's that all about?
Yeah, it's a Salesforce designation to trusted individuals in the community. So, like I said, I sort of jump-started my Salesforce career in the community itself, which is our user group community. So I went to the Orlando user group meeting. I was a part of that first session, and then shortly after, I led the Orlando user group. Most recently, I traveled to Singapore last year. I restarted that user group community. And when I moved back to San Francisco last year this time, I was a part of the developer user group in San Francisco. And so being a Salesforce.com MVP is just really a trusted partner in the ecosystem that engages the community. It helps a lot with answering questions, fostering peer-to-peer learning, getting communications out about new features. And so my involvement in the Salesforce community has been tremendous ever since I drank the champagne and started down this road. And I love doing that. I love getting in front of customers, talking about products and features, and solving problems. And so that's where the Salesforce.com MVP badge comes from, is being able to take it upon myself to engage others, recruit others, and help others inside the ecosystem. Anyone from, a one-person Salesforce administrator sitting at their desk to maybe, 50 to 100 people that may come to our user group session, and just talking through their processes and problems and giving some guidance.
Well, congratulations on that, because, there aren't a ton of, MVPs out there, and that really is a testament to you just stepping out there and being a leader in this community. And I mean, we can see now how large it's grown. I mean, I have people contacting me all the time. How do I get my Salesforce certification and things like that? So, you started it on your own and you really led that way. So congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
So on the topic of certifications, and, sort of how do you get in? Can you tell us about some of the certifications you have, and, what was the experience like going out to get those?
Yeah, so I'll start with my help desk days. So I do have a help desk certification, and that has really influenced my career and been able to allow me to work with different organizations well. And the one thing that I took away from having a help desk certification is being able to understand someone's problem, and what it's going to take to resolve that, and how to set expectations. And the biggest thing that I like about the help desk certification is how to check for success. How do you measure after you solve a problem that it's actually been solved, to avoid the frustration in the user calling you back saying that, hey, listen, this doesn't work again. It's all about delighting your customers and being able to provide that value. So from the help desk certification, I then started getting Salesforce certification. So I'm a Salesforce administrator and also a Salesforce developer as well, which just means that I can be dangerous in solving people's business problems, and so, it's all about the customization. So having the know-how to talk through problems, vet different scenarios and solutions for your customers, and just make sure that you're capitalizing on the system's native functionality before branching out into custom development.
Mm. So, just to follow up on that one, there's that process when you've gone out, you've worked with the technology, you've studied to take a certification, and then some people hit that wall and they're just afraid to jump and take the test and actually get the certs. What advice do you have for people who are in that sort of space?
Yeah, that's interesting. So my advice to people in that space would be to solve a problem. One thing that I don't do well is pick up a book and read instructions on how to do something and really learn from it, right? Because it's a sample, it's a demo, it's a hello world 1, 2, 3. What works for me is being able to solve a real challenge. Mm-hmm. So whether it's volunteering inside the community to make a process more efficient using technology. I've done that in Orlando for a number of organizations. Is, hey, Josh, we really have this problem. How can you help us with this? And being able to quickly use Salesforce or a cloud technology or a cloud app, at my fingertips to, solve that problem. And I think that's what people need to do. Is, don't think about how do I read something and do something and then, get to the end of it, but how do I solve something that's going to be very valuable to somebody? And, just from learning about, how to get from, start to finish on solving a problem has been very valuable for me, versus, reading a book. So, get out there, do something that's going to be valuable and that is also going to meet your needs on growing.
Great advice.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. I think a lot of people get caught up in just the process of obtaining a certification as opposed to, taking that knowledge and applying it directly to, things that they're doing at the moment or applying it to, things that they want to do. And so I think that's great advice that you just gave. So prior to joining Aperio, you started CRMified. Tell us more about that experience. For one, explain to people who might not know what CRMs are. Explain that, and then tell us about your business, CRMified.
Yeah, so CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, and really it can mean a lot of different things. But in the Salesforce community, what it really means is having a technology that allows you to manage your relationship with the customer. And, in today's world, there are a lot of organizations that want to see a 360-degree view of their customer, because that's important. I want to know what challenges you've had with my product. I want to understand if you're an advocate for me. I want to understand what you're saying about my company and my products. And I want to be able to know how to contact you and then what channels to contact you on. And so I, build systems for bigger organizations that help them do all of those things. And when I was sort of reaching my my point in corporate America, where I wasn't challenged, I wanted to move on, I wanted to do the next best thing, and something didn't work out for me, I turned a situation that could have been rather challenging into lemonade by capitalizing on my passion to make people more efficient with their customers and streamline processes and, being able to have, people be more satisfied with the systems that they work with because they're making their job easier. And so I started CRMified just for a couple people asking me, hey, can you do this? It's a small 1-month project. It's a 2-month project. Or, hey, we really don't understand how to do this. Can you help us? Because in corporate America, I was tired of commuting. I mean, my commute was only 20 minutes, but the fact that I had to get up every day, I had to get dressed, I had to drive to the office, I had to handle, politics, and then, and then be able to drive home and do it all over again. It was getting old, frankly. And then all these other people working in the cloud were like, hey, what are you doing? I work from home. I have flexibility. I can go wherever I want for lunch. I just went to Hawaii for 2 weeks and worked from there. So, I was drooling, right? And so I started my own company, as aspiration for living up to what those people were doing because I found that quite interesting. Not having to be at a desk, it was intriguing to me because I wanted that flexibility that other people in the cloud were having as well. And, out of that, I wasn't in business for very, very long because I went to Dreamforce, which is the conference that you guys spoke about earlier that's coming up this upcoming week. And a friend of mine, Jeff Douglas, recruited me after I was in a Cloud Spokes or a sort of a hackathon challenge, right? And my life hasn't been the same since. And there's a couple of reasons why I chose to join Aperio after running my own business. I feel like everyone's got to own their own business at some point in time, but you have to realize what you want to do next and if it's right for you. And one of the things about CRMified is it was the Josh show, right? It was me, myself, and I doing invoicing, doing customer relations, doing, accounts receivable. And, you have to really look at that hard and say, do you want to be able to manage all aspects of your business, or do you want to do the things that you're fun at? And the difference between CRMified, which was great for a while, and Aperio, which, is just amazing. I can't believe how awesome the company is I work for. But the difference is being able to travel. Since I joined Aperio, I've lived in Singapore, I lived in San Francisco, and now I'm actually based out of London. And,
right.
The thing that was different for me at Aperio is I get to do things that I'm passionate about, right? I get to solve problems. I get to work with a really, really, really good group of people. And I get to focus on that, and not worry about the business, not worry about the invoicing, right? And that's really special to me. And to have a company that is so innovative and doing things differently in the cloud space, and doing things that haven't been done before, and really trying to mature these products and our offerings is something that excited me. And when you're in a cloud consulting world, you really have to embrace it and move forward. And for me, that's CRMify my own business, and then jumping to a professional services company like Aperio, and it really, it allowed me to focus on what I really enjoy doing, is being in front of the customer, talking about processes, talking about how do we move the needle. We're here. How do we get to be? How do we get to see? And ultimately, what's our roadmap going to look like in a year for being able to manage our customers and grow our customer relationships? And being at the front of those conversations is what I look forward to every day when I deal with customers.
I love that. I love that, going from this conversation of working at a help desk, of doing development work, to being like in London with one of the big 5 consulting agencies in the world. So that's awesome. And on the grain of consulting, I want to ask about sort of the process of asking questions, because I think asking the right question is so important, and being successful in this field. And I really want to, what advice do you have on that? How do you do that? I mean, clearly you do it very well. So talk about that.
Yeah. So one is always keep learning. You're never done learning on how to engage with people. Just when you think you have all the personalities nailed, there's one that creeps up on you. So I'm still learning how to refine that. And that was one of the reasons why I joined Aperio as well, is having my own consulting firm, not really having experience, professionally consulting with, other organizations. My vernacular with customers was a little rough around the edges, let's say. I couldn't say no without saying no. I said no, and then I stopped. But what professional consulting has taught me is it's taught me to say no and then be able to defend no and say why no is as important and is going to deliver value to them. So it's really saying no without saying no, giving them a bone to sort of continue the conversation. Mm-hmm. So I'm still learning in that aspect, but there are a couple things that I'll say here is ask open-ended questions, right? So at the end of my meeting, I'm always asking, what other questions do you have for me? Instead of, do you have any other questions for me? Because that open-ended question is received far greater than this two-step process. If I ask, do you have any questions for me? I first have to decide if I have any questions for you. And then the second decision I have to make is, what is that question? And so to speed things up, it's always, what other questions do you have for me? And it's just, an open mindset and just talking to people. So we were talking about this earlier. Even if you have to correct someone in terms of your speaking, or maybe they don't have the details correct, you start that sentence off with yes. And then you proceed to paint the picture of actuality and the real deal. And I think that in my consulting experience, that's also what helps me, is to be a very as of a matter of fact person, right? I don't build emotions into it. It's very simple to me. And sometimes it's too simple. It's black and white and there's, very little gray. But if you want something, it's going to require input and it's require output, whether that's effort, whether that's investment. There's got to be a clear way to get through, from A to Z without the emotions involved. And I feel like in the professional consulting world, it's a challenge because you have these people who live and breathe their career and, really want their job to excel. And sometimes you're at the mercy of technology. And so it's hard for the business partners I work with not to feel that, that $2 million or $1 million project is tangible for them. Mm-hmm. And they start to have all of these, preconceived notions of what I should be getting from you. And really dialing that back down and saying, wait a minute, this is a partnership. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's some type of financial investment, but there's give and take on both sides. Mm-hmm. And how do we partner together to be successful? And how do we make this an iterative, relationship rather than a transactional relationship? Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of different pieces that I've learned after stepping into the professional consulting world that, have grown my career and make me a consultant that really truly focuses on delivering value. Mm-hmm. And just as simple as asking questions the right way, I call those little, mind games like life hacking. This, that is the core of dealing with different scenarios and different people. And, when I leave an organization, I move on to a different project. I think that's one thing that people value is being able to be clear, be concise, and drive to value, as opposed to, let me get your ideas, let me go away for 6 months, and then let me deliver something to you that you're not going to like. Mm-hmm. And, part of my job is to make sure that I balance all of those different expectations from, the sales cycle to the delivery cycle, and making sure that we deliver on our promise, which is really taking organizations to the next level with cloud technologies. Yeah,
no, that's great. I really like how you sort of brought in that aspect of trust and that aspect of collaboration and partnership, because, when you're working on a project and you have a problem to solve, you may be solving it on your own, but people still want to feel like they're part of that process. And that's a skill of relationship management to make sure that people feel included and that they're really going to be satisfied with the end result.
Yeah, they have to be along for the ride. And if you drag someone along for that ride, they will be your worst enemy. And it won't be good at the end. So, having people a part of that process when I'm building solutions and, architecting, I call them sexy things that do cool stuff. You've got to be able to realize and, look around you, just don't drive, as we say, but, look around and, be intuitive about the conversation in the room and feelings that are happening. A lot of my job, too, and I'm still learning to do this well, is reading between the lines. Mm. Because someone says ABC, they probably mean DEF, or it may be a backhanded compliment, per se, right? And so being able to understand those idiosyncrasies of, what goes on in a conversation and how to react, and in a lot of cases, how to not react, and, make it more of a professional conversation and removing that emotion. So, still got a lot to learn in that area, but 3 years ago, I definitely was not in this spot, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I'm still learning, and learning by reading, having conversations in Singapore is very different from having conversations in the UK, which is very different from having conversations in the States. And I think I'm very humbled to have had the opportunity to move into these other countries and to be able to work with individuals and organizations in all of those countries to deliver value.
Man, I'm soaking up game over here, y'all. This is fun.
That's great. Yeah, so am I. I kind of want to shift it a little bit from talking about some of the soft skills to talking about some of the hard skills, such as you mentioned on your site that you like designing data models. So tell us a little bit about what's involved with building data models and why is it important for Salesforce?
That's great. So your data model is essentially your foundation. It's really, I guess, one of the biggest foundation pieces at the technical level, because you need to be able to make sure that you store data in a scalable way. A lot of what companies, that don't have the data model at the forefront of their mind, they end up making more work for themselves. And by not building a data model that will be able to scale with your business. And, that is something that's very important when implementing a system to be able to allow an organization to grow, not only next year, but the next 3 to 10 years, right? Without having to go back to the drawing board every 2 years and recreate what you built. So it's all about extending the data model and building onto it, because you start with a foundation and then you grow on it. And I don't know how technical I want to get on this call, but
get as technical as you need to. Get as technical as you need to, man.
Then I have to figure out how to put it in words.
We got a whiteboard in here, so but you guys can't see that.
So I mean, it could be as simple as this. If I am a contact at a company, and I am coming to your conference this year, right? And I can attend one or many sessions, not 5 sessions, not 2 sessions, but many sessions. I would build a data model like this. I would have an object for my contact, and then I would have a custom object for the sessions that I'm allowed to join, and then I need another object to sort of join the two together that says this contact is attending this session. So that's 3 objects in my data model. Another way to build that, which would not be the right way, is just to have your contact, Joshua Hoskins, and checkboxes to say that, I'm attending this session in 2013. But really, if you had to do that, the administrative overhead to maintain those checkboxes on that one object is going to be labor intensive, and it's not going to be able to scale. So, you could do it with 2 objects, but the right way to do it is 3 objects. The sessions that people can attend, the contacts, which are the attendees, and then a junction object that joins them. And that allows you to, it doesn't restrict you to have 5 sessions one year or 20 sessions one year or 100 sessions the next year. It allows you to scale. As long as you keep on populating those sessions, as long as you keep on having attendees register, that junction object will scale to really N. It's the nth degree, right? So I can be a part of 0 sessions, maybe I just register and don't attend any of them, which means I have no records in that junction object, or I can attend 1,000 sessions over my time. And really, that data model, if you take a look at it, the optimal way of creating that with 3 objects also allows you to report on it more effectively, right? So then I can go to that junction object that says, this person attended these sessions in the year of 2013, and then how many sessions did they attend in 2014, and really be able to analyze that data that you collect because you built your data model appropriately. If I built it, inadequately, I end up shooting myself in the foot because I will have to rethink that to get reporting, out in a couple of years.
Yeah, and that's so real because, I've seen it so many times where somebody would just start out with what they think is a really simple solution to something, and then find out, at the end of the year when their executive wants a certain kind of report that they cannot provide it. And then they end up bringing that data into Excel or something like that. And just to sort of build a bit of a bridge to those folks who are not familiar with the Salesforce product is, an object is really the same thing as a table in a database. And so that really just transfers over to anything. That same concept transfers over to if you're building a system, a Ruby on Rails system, and you're using a MySQL database or something of that nature. And I think the great thing about this particular product and sort of these cloud solutions is that there's so many different things that are already built in, like reporting, and different things like the contact is already in place, and there are little pieces that kind of feed off of that. So you don't have to build everything from scratch. You just get to extend on it.
Right. Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's a big mantra that we have at Aperio. For all of our engagements, we build assets, and those assets go into our asset library. And one of the big things is never being able to start from scratch and having that foundation, and having those tools in place with a great company allows you to really focus more on the solution and the architecture and the foundation. So you don't have to always go back to the drawing board and, recreate something. I think a lot about, I'm going to go back to soft skills for a second, is to be able to identify what the next question is going to be and how to determine not only what an organization needs now, but what an organization is going to need at the end of the project or in 5 years or where they can be. Even if they don't know it, you have to be able to be that visionary, to walk them through that roadmap and set them up for success, even if you're not engaged with them, in the years to come. At least, the pride that I take out of having an engagement is being able to, really leave them with a sustainable system that's going to be scalable, that they can extend, and that they don't have to recreate, in 2 years' time.
Yeah, and I think really everybody should do that. If you're an independent developer, you need to be building an asset. If you are an individual contributor at a company, everything that you work on that's intellectual property, like you just file it away. Be able to pull it out at a moment's notice.
Yeah, it's all about having the experience. One thing that I consistently, I wouldn't say a challenge, but one thing that I consistently experience is the fact that I did something and I followed it through A to Z is very important to me, because now my job is to really interact with our account executives and be on the sales side of engagements before they go to delivery. And I find when I walk into a sales meeting and I prep a presentation, every presentation is never the same because it's a different problem. It may be a little bit of the same questions, but being that I have that experience and I know what to look for, I know the pitfalls, those allow me to talk with confidence about it. So it's all about driving that next thing. It might not look sexy to you today, but it's definitely going to be an asset for you to grow on in terms of a foundation, in your next project that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. So, man, we just went through a lot. That is a lot of information. I know that the listeners for this podcast are taking notes and are thinking about how they're going to apply, these life hacks and these tips and tricks to their experiences. So definitely want to hear back from folks. How did you take this information? Tweet us at hashtag #FitTechTalk and let us know how you felt about this. And just, I guess, before we close, I want to ask you, Joshua, what's next?
That's a great question. You know what? Most recently, I transitioned to London, so I've been there for about a month. And, I had to ask myself that last month because I was meeting one of those goals where, when I came back from Singapore, I'm like, I want to do an international assignment again, right? And so, it's hard to say right now because I'm just beginning on a new transition in my life. So I'm still feeling very challenged, but I'm certainly looking for what that is. Most recently, what it's been is getting myself in a routine in my new digs in London, because that's important. And so when I moved from San Francisco to London, I made a couple of promises to myself, and one of them was that I was going to continue to stay fit by running, and by getting me, myself, and I in order, so that I can fulfill more goals that are not career oriented. I feel like I've doubled down on my career for quite some time. And now it's time to double down on my personal life. And, that's what's next for me. And what's interesting for even me to listen to about that is it's not career focused, right? I talk a lot about my career on this call, but you only live one life that we know about, right? And you've got to take care of yourself, and you've got to live your life to the fullest. And you have to be satisfied with that. And no one can change that but you. And so I'm making the switch in life to get into a routine where I'm striving harder to define that work-life balance and start to have some personal goals set for myself that I expect to accomplish in the next couple years, months, or whatever it be. But it's been a big step for me not to have it career-driven, and that's what I'm looking forward to in the next years.
Wonderful. Great.
Excellent.
And we're going to be checking back with you, Joshua, and hopefully we'll have you back on so you can talk to us more about that.
Yeah, this has been fun. For you guys listening, I'm out there in the social community. You can follow me on Twitter at jhoskins. That's JHOSKINS. And occasionally I write a blog post at crmified.com. So, I need to get back into blog posting, but you can usually catch some Throwback Thursday pictures that I've been tagged on my blog. But that should also be a goal for me as well. I've sort of been slacking on that. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and happy to join you guys again for another session.
Great.
All right, Joshua, I want to thank you for definitely taking time out of your day and joining us on this podcast. I also want to extend an invitation to you if you would like to join the Blacks in Technology community site at blacksintechnology.net. We're always, open to people joining and engaging in the community. We have a lot of software developers on the site as well. It's free to join. So if you feel up to joining that and engaging in the community, you're more than welcome. And once again, thanks for taking time out your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think community is probably my built into my name someplace. It may be my third or fourth name. So happy to participate in all the communities that I can.
Excellent.
Great.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in